Welcome to the world today. I'm Waqas Majeed Khan, and how can we be talking about anything other than what is happening on the GT road? That is, the ex-Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif is on his way back to Lahore, and he is surrounded by his ardent supporters. We'll talk about this grand rally that is being taken out by the PMLN to show their support or their political relevance after the episode which sent the Prime Minister packing home. Let me introduce my guests in the studio. Joining me today to discuss this issue, we have Rana Qaisar Saab, and along with him we have Gaity Analyst. Both of them are my colleagues. Thank you very much for being here. Rana Saab, let's start with the show of strength. Did you hear the Prime Minister's speech last night?
Yeah, I did.
And one of the most important things that he kept saying, and which was the crux of the matter, was that how could the mandate of so many people be trampled upon by the powers that be, and he's sent home and there's no respect for the mandate of the people. How do you view that particular statement of his?
Well, after the verdict of the Supreme Court, that 5-member bench verdict, there has been a debate on this issue that can an elected Prime Minister be sent home this way? Sorry. No, it was a legal issue, and the courts did not challenge the mandate, in fact. There was a case, in fact, and the case was heard there, and finally they found that Prime Minister, as per the law, which was quoted as Article 62(1)(f) of the Constitution and Section 99 of Representation of the People's Act. So both these acts put together, they found that probably he concealed something. He did not.
Or it was more of a matter of omission.
Omission. So under that, the charge that they framed in a way, he said that you are disqualified from holding this office of Prime Minister. Basically, you cannot be the member of the National Assembly. So the disqualification verdict was announced. Now, there is a debate in this country like that the tenure of the government. In our constitution, the constitution that we have, there is no tenure fixed for a political government, for the Prime Minister. The tenure that is fixed for is that of the Parliament, that is 5 years. Now, Prime Ministers come and go, but the Parliament stays. That is the continuity of the system. Now, the former Prime Minister is saying that the mandate of the people has not been respected. Well, when we talk about the respect of the mandate, yes. When the people choose you to represent them in Parliament and you are there, you have to come up to the expectations of the people for what they have chosen you. Now, that is fine. Now we see that in the province of the Punjab, there is a government of PMLN, and in KP it's PTI, in Sindh it is Pakistan People's Party parliamentarians, and in Balochistan PMLN and allies. Now the mandate is there. In the federation, in the center, there is PMLN. The PMLN government still continues. After the disqualification of former Prime Minister, the same political party which enjoys majority in National Assembly, they elected their own Prime Minister, Mr. Shahid Khaqan Nawaz. The continuity continues, continuity of policy and political process. Now, Parliament has yet to complete its tenure, which would end next year, and after that, elections will be called. Now, saying this, that the people's mandate, there are two things. Normally, my colleagues and my friends, they say that it is for the people of Pakistan to decide whether a person should continue in office or not as Prime Minister or MNA. It is for them to hold them accountable, and that is through ballot. Whether they would like somebody to vote in or if they vote out somebody, it's their choice. Okay, fine. That is the election process and political process, and on the basis of the agenda and the manifesto that you announce before your elections, you put a priority list that, okay, if I come into power, I would do this for you, and these are the problems of this country, and the previous governments, of course, they were responsible, and we will undo the wrongs done to the nation and the country. Okay. After 5 years or whatever the tenure you enjoy, you go to elections, and now you are answerable to the people. They hold you accountable for that. That is a political accountability, I call.
Right.
Now, the issues which relate to, which are like concealing something, which come into Pakistan Penal Code or election violations, election rules violations, and CPRC deals with that. If such issues come up, for them there are institutions. For example, there is National Accountability Bureau, there is Election Commission of Pakistan, there are many other institutions which hold you accountable, that if you have committed some wrong, you cannot be spared on the basis that the people after 5 years or whatever the time you spend in office, they will hold you accountable and they might or might not vote you in or vote you out. This debate has, become very hot these days. Now, the former Prime Minister, yesterday he started his journey to Lahore, which is from Islamabad, it's saying home going, and for Lahore people, they are saying homecoming. So now they said, okay, I will travel. The former Prime Minister will travel from GT Road. Earlier it was decided that he would be taking motorway to reach Lahore. Then there was also a proposal that he should travel by train. Finally, after the motorway decision was cancelled, they chose GT Road. And GT Road is also symbolic in our political history. You see, when Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz emerged as a political power, the opponents of PMLN and Mr. Nawaz Sharif, they used to say that PMLN is a GT Road party. And why does it symbolize as such? Because most of the constituencies that it used to win in the past, they were on or along the GT Road, the Grand Trunk Road. Okay, with the passage of time, PMLN established itself as a formidable political force in the country. And it challenged the established political party, that is Pakistan People's Party, and now it is Pakistan People's Party parliamentarians. With that, PMLN expanded and it established its base and political base, I would say, across the country in all the 4 provinces. And we saw in 1997 they came up with the 2/3 majority also. So PMLN, of course, is no doubt a political asset of this country, I would say. Now, with the disqualification of former Prime Minister Mohammad Nawaz Sharif, who also heads PMLN, now should we say that after him the PMLN would scatter or shatter? I would say no. Because, as I said, PMLN is a political asset of this country now.
But unfortunately, what we've seen historically in Pakistan is that the political parties tend to be more like personality cults rather than truly democratic political parties. Let me bring this question to Gaity.
Okay.
Gaity, another thing that the Prime Minister brought up was that no Prime Minister in the history of the country has been able to complete his term. And he's also a victim of those same forces that are against, particularly the chair of the Prime Minister or the seat of the Prime Minister is the one which is always in trouble or the one which is not stable, whereas there's no other problem with any other issue. So speaking about the Prime Ministers never being allowed to finish their terms and then going forward, how do you think it really affects the political history of Pakistan in that sense?
Well, one thing that it's very unfortunate because it's true, we know that none of the prime ministers have ever completed their tenure. And coming back to this very specific incident, as journalists, we have been covering this following this whole political scenario as it was unfolding after the disqualification of former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif. And they have been trying to make 2 points from the very start. If you go through the statements, which we have been as journalists, that one, they have been trying to establish that it was an injustice that has been done to them. Of course, that they are talking about the disqualification of the Prime Minister. And other thing that they've been trying to establish through their statements time and again, that it is not an injustice that has been done only to a certain person or an individual. They are trying to inculcate this feeling among the voters that they have been also betrayed in a way. So I think this whole convoy doing this, I would say this travel, this rally, was a bid to engage people and to make them realize the kind of loss, basically. This is how PMLN sees that.
All right. We've also been joined by Mr. Qayyum from the PMLN. He's with us on the line. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Qayyum. In your opinion, sir, how do you foresee the rally proceeding, and where else is the Prime Minister expected to address his followers? Are you there with us, sir?
See, this is a sort of political move by a political leader who has been, who has worked hard for last 40, 50 years and attained a position that he became not only Chief Minister of the biggest province twice, but also the Prime Minister of Pakistan 3 times. And he is known not only regionally, but internationally. So therefore, now that he has been removed from power because of a court verdict to which he said yes and he really accepted it. But at the same time, he cannot disconnect from the public because that is his strength. Every political leader cannot be a political leader. He will be zero without public support. So he decided to go back via the road, and the public decided to welcome him because he is a popular leader in the country. So that way the rally proceeded, and you saw there was a lot of good response. People were showering petals and garlanding him and saying welcome, and horses dancing and everything. So, but at the same time, the government is taking all the precautions on the security side, because that again you have to keep in mind. Now this rally will move forward, and wherever they pass, the people will come out on the road and welcome him. And I think then when he reaches Lahore, maybe then he goes to other provinces also and meet people, because he is still heading, he is a robber, he is a leader of the biggest party in the country, which is in power. And we have to fight election next time. And this is the election year also, don't forget that. So therefore,
well, Mr. Qayyum, the legal aspect of the disqualification of the Prime Minister says that he might not be able to take part in the elections anymore. In fact, he's been asked to also remove himself as party head. So what kind of a political future do you foresee for Mr. Nawaz Sharif?
There is just absolutely no problem. You see, even if he is removed and not allowed to head a party, somebody else will head a party. But then he would remain as an elder,
or as a father figure,
supreme leader of the party, not holding any constitutional post, and no constitutional or legal restriction is on his. It is forced on him that he cannot go and meet people or address people. So he can move around. There is no restriction on movement, on his speech. That is his right. And his party is there. People are loyal to him. And so long as he really wins the hearts and minds of the people, he remains the leader. You can remove
right. He has
him
also said, Mr. Qayyum, the ex-Prime Minister has also said that he would continue to serve the people that obviously regard him with the utmost love and respect, and who are his followers from the PMLN. So how do you think he's going to continue his activities serving the people, as he has himself said?
You see, the point is that you know that Muslim League Nawaz is a party on his name. And that party is not being disbanded. And that party is very strong. It has very experienced team which is running the country. It has a very strong financial team, security aspect people are looking, commercial side, trade, foreign policy. They are most experienced people. So even if he is not really holding any post, he can make sure that he puts right people at the right job, and he has put the best man as the Prime Minister of the country. For that matter, he is non-controversial, and he is very experienced, dedicated, loyal to the country. Everybody accepted him. And while Nawaz Sharif was out of the parliament, he managed more than 2/3 majority for him. That speaks volumes about his popularity and his status in the hearts and minds of the people. So therefore, you can't remove them. People will only reject a leader if they are not satisfied with his performance. You have seen that even Pakistan People Party has shrunk to a province, and that too now only the rural same. At one time, they were a national party, and a lot of majority they had. But this is how I think political leaders can only be defeated by when they fall in the eyes of the people who vote for them. So therefore, I think now that he's been removed, that has also helped him, I feel, because he gets the sympathy vote. And this now in the last year of his tenure, and now it is the election year, you will see, because when people went to, for example, in the Azad Kashmir election, the Tehreek-e-Insaf leaders, the People Party leaders went there. They didn't talk even for a single day about Kashmir and rights of self-determination and the atrocities being committed by the Indians in the occupied Kashmir. They were talking of Panama. And after, when they saw the results, the PMLN got majority, even not two-thirds, but in fact 3/4 of the voters went to them. And this is all. So therefore, people have their own assessment. They have their own standard of judging who would be the best under the circumstances for them to look after their interests. We, in Pakistan, it is undoubtedly clear that Muslim League is the largest party and Nawaz Sharif is the most popular leader today in Pakistan. So therefore, so long as people are with him, I think you cannot deny him. If he's not imposed, according to the court verdict, he will field a team which will serve the people. That is how he says that I'll continue serving the people.
All right. Thank you very much, General Retired Abdul Qayyum, for talking to us. That was Mr. Abdul Qayyum from the PMLN.
Yeah.
He has a very interesting point. We were also talking about that, Rana Sahab. And that is that in Pakistan and also generally in other parts of the world, we've noticed that political parties end up being cults of personalities. Very much true for Pakistan. We have Imran Khan Saab's party, we have Mia Mohammad Nawaz Sharif's party. If you take out these individuals from these parties, what do you have left behind? Is there any identity left? Is there that same kind of a fervor and the kind of enthusiasm you see in their supporters? Would it still be the same if these individuals were taken out?
I think we have yet not matured as a democracy, and you see we are in a process of maturing. The reason behind that the individuals have become centripetal forces of political forces is that in the decade of, I call it a dark decade of 1990s, when you see I would not say the governments, I would say even the parliaments, they were not allowed to complete their tenure. I mean, the national assemblies were dissolved under Article 58 2Bs and on the charges of oft-repeated charges of corruption.
Right.
And not even a single charge of corruption had ever been proved against any politician. I mean, the example of Mr. Asif Ali Zardari is before all of us.
Right.
So the reason that the political parties could not develop into institutions is this, that the political process in this country had never been allowed, I mean in the 1990s especially and before that, to continue. So as the process does not continue, the related, the political parties or their wings, they also cannot consolidate. They do not, transform into established and institutionalized, I would say, political basis of the country. Like in America, if the the Republicans and the Democrats, the parties are institutions. I mean, they grow with the passage of time and continue to grow. Here, unfortunately, no political party has become an institution for the country. Although I said...
It's the other way around, like you're giving the example of the US, so it's actually the party which presents the face.
Exactly.
It's not the other way around. It's not the face which represents the party.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, in our case, it is the way that we are talking about political parties. Had these political parties been, established as institutions, the situation would have been totally different, and the individuals would not matter, only the parties would matter. As I earlier said, the PMLN and the PPP, PTI, all political parties of this country who are allowed under the law to participate in electoral process are the assets of this country. Now, this is the responsibility of the heads of those political parties to also democratize the political parties and establish them as political institutions of this country. Now, unfortunately, it has not happened so far, but I hope that as long as this process continues,
process of democracy is allowed to
continues,
continue,
yeah,
then-
continue,
then it
and
will.
it is not disrupted or interrupted, I think this will definitely happen. And that's why I say we have yet not matured, we are maturing, and we are evolving as a democracy. So I think if another 2-3 terms are given to the parliaments to complete their tenure, I am hopeful
That we might actually
that
come up
not
with a
might,
proper...
we will become a democracy in a way that the world can give examples, as we now quote Britain and US and European democracies. People in South Asia or Asia, or I mean in the world, would quote, okay, here is a nation which grew and became a formidable democracy.
Right.
But I would actually further what just Rana Saab said. I think the issue is more psychological for us. We have to keep this whole scenario in mind, because we have been dealing with dictatorial regimes for so long that public somehow is hooked to seeing one person in place and who is dealing with everything and running the country. So this has to change. He's very right that it has to change, but it will take time,
Take time, yes,
definitely.
yes.
It's not that easy that it will change into an absolute democracy overnight.
The reason I would add another thing here, you see, why did it happen? Like in 1970s, when the former Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto was ousted and arrested, and he defied who? I mean, those who were against the democracy at that time, who did not like him to continue, I mean, the political process. I mean, there was upheaval in the country. All political parties had turned up against Mr. Bhutto, and that was called PNA, Pakistan National Alliance, and then military takeover, of course. So Zulfikar Ali Bhutto had become an icon of freedom of the people, and I mean, icon for democracy.
Right.
Now, here it came to this point that an individual emerged out of the whole nation, who stood up head and shoulder above, and the party started revolving around him. And when he was hanged, and there were movements in 1980s, movement for restoration of democracy. I mean, all political parties quoted him, and even today the people quote him for his struggle for democracy. Now then you see Benazir Bhutto, she emerged as an individual, as a daughter of the former Prime Minister Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, and Mr. Nawaz Sharif, he emerged as a political figure. I mean, the situation in which they emerged was, I mean, not democratic.
Right.
I mean, it was their struggle to come up and stand and take a position. So as far as our political, that is, I call it a checkered political history. In this political history, even it's not only these 3 individuals, but there are many individuals in this country, be it a religious political,
Most of the parties, if you
political
speak of
parties
them,
and political
they're
party,
all
or national political parties.
individual-centric.
Yes, individuals stand for.
Well, we've also been joined by Qaisar Sheikh Saab. He's from the PMLN, and he's on the line with us. Thank you very much for joining us, Qaisar Saab. Sir, what do you expect in the coming days and weeks? What will be the strategy of the PMLN to deal with the situation of Mr. Mian Nawaz Sharif being removed from the Prime Ministership?
You see, our strategy, PML's and strategy is very clear. Mian Nawaz Sharif has mentioned it on a number of occasions, that our strategy is to contact the people. As he is proceeding from Islamabad to Lahore, so, and he's now out from being Prime Minister. He wishes to see the people and to meet the people and to express his point of view to the people. So mainly that is the purpose of this rally, because he is a political person, and a politician cannot be away from the public. So that is the main thing. It's like very important to have contact with the public and to have interaction between the leader and his people who love him or like him. That is the main purpose of it.
Right, and Qaisar Saab, also tell us in his this particular rally, he intends to speak in Gujranwala and Lahore. Are there any other stops also planned on the way where he might be addressing the people?
I'm not exactly, I can't tell you. This is, they had a plan to stop over at Jhelum, but now they are proceeding mainly fastly to Gujranwala. So I think these are the main 2 cities, but I don't have exact schedule with me at present.
And sir, do you have any information regarding the by-election on NA 120? Who will be contesting, and what are the arrangements for that?
Yes, I don't know exactly. It has not been decided. It's being discussed in the party and will be revealed within few days.
All right, so thank you very much. So do stay on the line with us in case you would like to participate in our show. We're coming back to the studio. Gaity, you know, in India, there was an episode where there was a chief minister of the Bihar state, if I'm not wrong. His name was Lalu Prasad Yadav, and he was also unceremoniously removed on some corruption case or the other. And then he had his wife elected in his place, and she ruled intermittently on his behalf. So do you think that kind of situation might even arise over here?
Well, we can't say exactly what will happen, but there has been some voices because when Mohammad Nawaz Sharif was in jail, was put in jail by General Musharraf, and that time people have seen Begum Kulsum struggle.
She really
a lot.
struggled hard.
And people not just remembered that, but remembered that in a very good manner, that she was a capable person. But right now, situation is much more complicated. As we know that PMLN, the party, is still in power, and we know that they are not going to change the prime minister as much as we know just in next few months.
The original thought of the 45-day interim,
yes, it has been
stopgap arrangement
changed. So there are, I think it's a long way to go before they call for the candidates for the main election that is expected to take place in 2018. But that would be a very interesting
development, wouldn't it? Rana Sahab, what's your opinion on the matter?
I think the Election Commission has already issued the schedule for the NA 120 by-elections, and probably the dates for the filing of nomination papers is, it has started today. It was between 10th to 12th. And tomorrow, if they reach Lahore, and I expect that in his address, when the former Prime Minister addresses the people after reaching Lahore, probably he would announce there.
All right. Okay, so moving forward now, let's also talk about the job at hand for the PMLN government. How important is it that the next 10 months, how important are the next 10 months to sort of chalk out a future course of action for the PMLN? Preparation for the next elections. What are the important things that they should be looking at that is going to help them maybe win the elections in 2018 again?
There are two aspects. One is regarding the continuity of the policies which the former Prime Minister had put in place vis-a-vis economy, energy crisis. The war against terror and extremism is already in process and it is progressing. And overall infrastructural development. I don't think that there would be any change because the same party is in the power, and his trusted Mr. Shahid Khan Abbasi is the Prime Minister, and he was the part of the cabinet and holding a very important portfolio of petroleum. And I think as far as the energy thing is concerned, he would be hands-on and would be monitoring it on a regular basis, because the PMLN's promise was in the beginning, when they came into power, that they would add another 10,000 megawatts of electricity into the national grid, and some of it has already been added to national grid, and we have seen improvement in the energy situation in the country. And as far as the economic policies are concerned, of course they will continue those policies. There cannot be any doubt about that. Now the second aspect that I am talking about is regarding PML with the suffix N. Now the Election Commission has already written a letter to the party that since Mr. Nawaz Sharif has already been disqualified for being the member of National Assembly, and under the People's Representation Act, I think a disqualified person cannot be a member or head of a political party. So if a person cannot head a political party, how can his name be associated as an suffix with the name of a political party? There is also a debate. I don't know what happens, what will happen, but I think somebody would move this thing also with the Election Commission, or probably if they continue with the N suffix, I think there is no problem. And if this suffix N is removed, I think there would be some problem.
Right.
It might create some problem for PML, now the N. So N stands for Nawaz. So this is the political aspect. Now the Pakistan Muslim League, Nawaz, they have to make serious efforts, and they will have to work day and night to come up to the expectations of the people and the promises that they had made during their election campaigns. And as some of them I have already mentioned, they have to ensure that when they go to elections and ask for a fresh mandate from the people, in the elections of 2018, they should tell the people, they should be in a position to tell the people, look, here is the comparison, that we were a government in the center, we were a government in the largest province, this is our graph of achievements, and these are the other governments in the province of Sindh, KP and Balochistan, this is their performance.
Right.
Now, I would, I hope that the next elections, but my analysis is that they would be on the basis of the performance.
Right.
And of course, these things do matter. I mean, the political things, you cannot simply ignore
Of course, there's a huge sympathy factor in the hearts
well,
of the people.
Well, I don't believe in sympathy factors.
Well, you should believe in it, because that's what brought the PPP to power last time. Anyway.
No, had PPP won the sympathy factor, once Rawalpindi used to be the stronghold of Pakistan People's Party, and at least Pakistan People's Party would have cashed in on the situation in that very particular
I agree with you
constituency.
that performance matters after that.
But performance, because now you see the social media and the electronic media, the way they are telling you what you have been saying and not what you have not been saying.
Right.
So they are holding you accountable on the screens also.
Let's get Qaisar Saab's opinion in the matter as well. Qaisar Saab, I hope you're with us. Sir, let's talk about the other things that the Prime Minister spoke about in his speech that he made in Rawalpindi. He also criticized other parties such as the Pakistan Awami Tehreek of Mr. Qadri, and also he criticized Mr. Imran Khan of the PTI. What do you think, in your opinion, is the role of these other political parties in the conundrum or the situation that the PMLN finds itself in today?
You see, definitely those parties have been protesting and have been having processions since last 16 months. So they and media also has been projecting their point of view so many times. So definitely, whatever happened, you see, up to now, this judgment came after 16 months of Panama leaks, whatever it was. So these parties advocated against our government, against PMLN. So if the Nawaz Sharif expressed his point of view, his opinion against other parties, he is very right to say that this scenario of unlawfulness and all these turmoils have been created by these parties. And this is not a democratic process, because our government and our Prime Minister was elected for 5 years, and up to now, no one in Pakistan has completed, no one person or any Prime Minister has completed 5 years of his terms. So these are the parties who are the culprits and who have created this situation. And I will also like to express that what is our strategy for the next election. Definitely, we are working on that load shedding should will be finished by end of this year, and about 10,000 megawatts of electricity is being added to the network. And then again, we passed in this budget, because I am a chairman of Finance Committee of National Assembly. We in this budget passed that 1,000 billion of rupees of development has to be completed in this year only. So these are for the sustainable development projects, and for the sustainable development of the country, where electricity is there, where infrastructure is there, where gas should be provided to the public, and many roads and development of other institutions. So these are the strategies of PMLN, and we will put forward our growth and our growth, which is 5.3% at this year, and we are expecting 6% next year. We will put before this nation. This is best growth of last 10 years. So these are the things that we are going to project, and I think that on the performance of PMLN, we definitely deserve to be elected in next election also in 2018, because there was a huge period of load shedding there when we took charge of the government, and now it's much reduced. But by the end of this year or early next year, we are targeting that whole load shedding should be removed. This is a big achievement. And then again, law and order situation.
That was Mia Saab's main campaign promise.
In Karachi, I live in Karachi, and we know what was the situation when our government came, and how much reduction is there in these terrorism and in these. So the situation in Karachi is much improved. Now the things are much better. We can quote about the stock exchanges rates. We can quote about the overall development of the city. This city is more than 20 million or 22 million people. So this is a huge development. The law and order situation improved tremendously in Karachi. And this is, of course, our armed forces, our rangers, and even the Sindh government, they contributed in it. It is not only we advocated, we started, we initiated, but this is a teamwork. And we feel that this situation, law and order improvement, has given a perception of Pakistan much improved. We had an honorable guest from South Korea, the Speaker of South Korea, Mr. Chung, for 3 days visit, and I saw him off yesterday in Lahore. It was his first ever, any dignitary of this caliber, it was the first visit of Lahore by any Korean of this high stature. So you see, they themselves agreed that although the perception of Pakistan is not so good, but when we come here, we feel that it is much improved law and order situation. And now they are thinking about, apart from China, as you know, that in CPEC, huge investment is coming up. But the Koreans are very interested to have direct foreign investment in Pakistan because of these progress and these improvements. Although you talked about these opposition parties, although they did not create the situation, they did not want that we should perform well, and they did their best to make hurdles and to stop us for the development of the country. But they cannot be succeeded because their target and their goal is that development should be stopped, and it should not be as fast and as quick as it is. And the rate of growth is known to everyone. It is not that I am mentioning about from PML and Sahi. It is recognized worldwide because the rate of growth of this 6% which we are projecting for next year is best in last 10 years. And present to this year rate of growth of 5.3% is best in last 9 years. So these are the very clear things which we can present to the nation on elections in our manifesto.
Right. Thank you very much, Qaisar Sheikh Saab, for taking out the time and talking to us. Some good points that Qaisar Saab has raised.
Of course, yes.
And let me start with Gaity. Gaity, do you think there will ever be a time when we will actually witness teamwork being displayed by the political parties instead of each of them dragging each other down and in the process the entire country? Or do you think there's still a long way to achieve that democratic milestone for us?
Well, one thing we have to keep in mind that all the political parties have their own different political agenda. And in every country, it's like that. So they have their different selling points. So this is going to, we have to expect that to happen because we want to have a very active and healthy opposition in the parliament. But the problem which you have just pointed out is different to what I am just actually saying. I think this is also part of growth, and what we are seeing will definitely lead us to more stable times.
Rana Saab, what's in your opinion the contribution to the overall progress of Pakistan of political parties over the years we're talking about? We've noticed that whenever a certain scheme or uplift project which is set up by a certain political party from a certain previous government is devastated by the incoming government, that it's all nonsense and the new project will come. And just for example, give you an example, like Mr. Trump is trying to do away with Obamacare and trying to come up with something better which he's not been able to do as yet. So still we have Obamacare continuing. So we've not witnessed that in Pakistan. We see political parties come and do away with the kind of development work that other parties did before them, saying that it was no good. When will that attitude and this policy change so that we can see continuity, so that each political party actually helps the other one in achieving the overall objective of Pakistan?
Development, in fact.
Right.
It did happen in the past also, like in Pakistan, especially in the decade of 1990s. since no government could complete its tenure, even the Parliament, National Assembly could not complete its tenure. Every government that came into power, first of all, it assessed the situation and I mean, identified the issues, the issues and the problems confronted by.
Sorry to interrupt you, Rana Sahab. We've got some live visuals coming to us where you can see the Prime Minister has arrived in Jhelum, and you can see a large number of people that are gathered there to greet their former leader.
Yeah.
In fact, he's their leader, but former Prime Minister. Quite a large number of people visible on our TV screens. They're all there to witness Nawaz Sharif passing through Jhelum, a very important historical town in Pakistan. Very large number of people gathered there, and we expect that the Prime Minister will probably be addressing that large
he's on the
crowd.
stage there.
Right, so we're hoping to hear what Mr. Ex-Prime Minister, Mr. Nawaz Sharif, would be saying to his supporters gathered there. What do you think, sir, after looking at him on the TV screen, what sort of aura is he exuding at the moment? Do you think he looks like a defeated individual, or do you still see the fire and the power that he used to once exude still there?
There is a very famous line in John Milton's Paradise Lost. What though if the field be lost? All is not lost, the unconquerable will. I mean, you can defeat a man, but you cannot defeat his will. So, I mean, as you said, that he's the leader of the people. You see, he's been deposed, he's been disqualified as Prime Minister or the member of the National Assembly, but the title of leader of people, you cannot snatch it from him. I mean, as
Mr. Shahid Khan Abbasi had
Shah Khan
said.
Abbasi, yes, and everybody says, and even I as a journalist, I say that, okay, as I said, PMLN is a political asset, and the PMLN became political asset because of one man, and that is Mr. Nawaz Sharif. And if he is not part of the government, he does not, have a say in administrative or political matters of the country. Still, he is the leader of PMLN.
Well, because the other point is that this is not the first time that Muhammad Nawaz Sharif is facing this.
Right.
This is the third time.
Yeah, history is full of
He's been
such
through
people,
a lot. I think last time he was sent to jail. So this is,
so you
I
think he's a much stronger
some
individual
more
now?
Well, important thing that
a better situation.
since
He's
at
able
that
to
time he
go
was
on
in the
roads.
jail, not in the public. No, this time he
Yes,
is in the
of
public, as
course.
you said, a defeated man or what? I don't think. You see, he started his journey from Islamabad to Lahore. That is from us. For us, it's home going. You see, he would be. This is the right, not only his, but every political party's and its leaders' right to convey his or party's message to its supporters, voters, and sympathizers. I mean, to have a political rally or to move like this on GT road or motorway or by train, it is the political right. So as long as it does not affect the common man.
Right.
I mean, that is the basic thing that, if it affects the common man, the way, we had a long sit-in here in Islamabad, that sit-in of 126 days. And I mean, the situation was like everything,
The
Islamabad.
whole city came to a standstill.
Standstill. Islamabad is the seat of government.
Right.
And if, the government is under pressure and under threat, how can you move forward? So that kind of situation should not arise. And this is what derails the democratic process. Or if not derails, it, disrupts the process.
Right.
One way or the other. Whether the government stays, the parliament stays, but the things come to a standstill. Now he is there. You see, yesterday he started his journey, and now he is in Jhelum, and then he would be moving to Gujranwala, and maybe tomorrow he will reach Lahore. And the message that he has started conveying would conclude in Lahore. I mean, yesterday and before that, he also said here last night in Islamabad, Pindi, and before that in his interactions with media people and others, he said that he would initiate a national dialogue. Now, it's a vague term that he said, national dialogue on what? Now, he should define, maybe tomorrow he defines it on what he wants, a national consensus or a national dialogue. And another thing he said 3-4 days back, that he is ready to constitute a fact and reconciliation commission. Now, the question arises that reconciliation on what? I mean, these things he have to clear, because this has created ambiguity, and it's not clear on what he wants reconciliation. I mean, as far as the institutions are concerned, their roles is clearly defined in the constitution. And if some other idea has in his mind, I think he should come up with that and let the people know what does he mean by reconciliation. And secondly, as I earlier said, that sort of a national dialogue that he's talking of, on what? So I think now he has started his journey. He's on the way.
That clarity will only come once he reaches Lahore.
I expect, and he should. I mean, like a statesman, that if he has said something, the way he is saying that his mandate has not been respected, blah blah blah. Now, I mean, that is a political thing. But if you go into the legal things and the process of law that had already taken place, the facts may be different.
Right.
And the political ideas that he has floated, he said that he was not interested in becoming prime minister again now, but he would lead the country, he would make the nation strong and strong. So he should come up with with this idea. What does he have in his mind about this national dialogue? And if he really wants the nation to move forward, and he wants the nation to become a strong nation, then he should lay out a roadmap, or put before the nation that roadmap and the plan. What does he intend to do for the betterment and improvement of this country, for democracy, for political process, for constitution? Constitution
like the national
exactly. Since the constitution is not a permanent document, if he thinks that there are certain gray areas in the constitution and they can be removed and they should be removed, he should mobilize the political parties. He should make his mind clear to the people.
All right, Gaity, the Prime Minister, I think, is about to address the people there. But before we cut to him, in your opinion, do you think that's the end of Mr. Nawaz Sharif's political career, or do you think it's the beginning of a new chapter of that?
I think these surely are difficult times for Mohammad Nawaz Sharif, but I hope that he would reinvent himself.
Well, that's hoping for the best, and thank you very much for taking out the time and being on the show. And in conclusion, we always say that whatever happens should be for the benefit and the betterment of Pakistan. With that hope and on that note, it's goodbye.